It's the 5th of March 2026. I think it's about midnight, something like that. Just waiting for some people to come on. An impromptu live just to let everyone know that I'm still here. And maybe just chat about a couple of the things that have been going on. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Hi Martin, hi Tamara. Hi Michael, hi Granny Page, is it? Hi Emma, hope you're well. I just thought I'd come on and do a little live just to make sure everyone knows I'm still here and alive, and give sort of a little bit of an update, but I'm going to be giving more. Hi Anna, hi, hope you're doing well. Hi Brian, hi Julie, hope you're well. But I'm going to be giving a bigger update once I've got the document out. One of the things that's really perplexed me is I'm finding connections to QAnon, it seems to me. If you don't know what QAnon is, it's I mean, I don't know a lot about it, if I'm being honest with you, but it seems as though it's the covert, if you like, behind the scenes operations going on to resolve all of this since the Pizzagate scandal, or possibly around the time of the Pizzagate scandal, and a lot of people suggesting that Donald Trump is resolving all of this and those that are assisting him. Well, I've now found what appear to be connections to QAnon companies linking into me for whatever reason. So that has just completely thrown me, to be honest with you. It is really made me wonder what that's all about. So I'm just in the process of still trying to put that together and understand it. Now, that possibly means that I'm some sort of huge experiment to them in all of this. Now, we still have, according to all of the evidence that I've got, a criminal financial system, not only by what I've found on the Company's House records, but by my inquiries at Exbourne Manor in the first few months, the meetings I held, the lack of responses. I still haven't had any responses from the 40 reference police reports, the emails that I've been sending recently to many MPs, not one response, not even from my actual MP from my area. The only response I've had is from the Independent Office of Police Conduct, which is basically telling me to stop contacting them or they're going to block me. Unbelievable, isn't it? So, this has really thrown a bit of a perplexing situation in my mind as to trying to understand why there's a connection to QAnon, it seems, to me. And I'm going to go into a bit more detail about it when I've got the document once I've in front of me, once I've sent it out, so I can actually read to you exactly what it is, and then you can sort of verify all of those connections as well. So, now I don't know, is anyone on here innocent? I have no idea. I don't know if this is some massive experiment to me. I don't know if at the moment I've still got to believe or consider that the children are really being harmed to the scale that they are, because otherwise I may not do the right thing to try and prevent that. So anyway, there's been a bit of research surrounding that. In relation to what's going on with the conflict at the moment in Iran, nobody needs to worry about it, okay? It is a massive collaborative deception against all of humanity. I doubt half of what you're seeing on the news is even real. They're all working together. This is 100% the case, all right? I don't believe that the Ayatollah is it the Ayatollah? I think they call the Ayatollah, or Ayatollah, of Iran died. I don't believe that's the case at all. I'd already found evidence linking them to Donald Trump. So what you're seeing is just a complete and utter farcical deception. I mean, it's almost laughable, to be honest with you, what I'm finding. And it's almost as if, and I don't mean this derogatory or disrespectful to them, they haven't got a clue what they're doing. It's as if we've got and again, they're probably, they want to unalive me anyway, but they're going to want to unalive me even more when I say they're almost like children. What I'm seeing is blatantly in front of me in terms of the criminal connections through the Company's House records. I've now found really, really important evidence tying into the Cray twins via the Thompson family. And the Thompson family appears to be connecting in with Mark Thompson. If you don't know who he is, then he was the head of the BBC Was also the head of CNN, and he was also. Um, it looks as though they've also connected a record to him as I've been exposing things to key companies in the international government fraud linking into the apparent crimes against the children, as if they're trying to let him have some sort of influence over what's happening. Now, the Thompsons appear to be really, really relevant in all of this and the connection to the Krays. The Krays had an associate called Arthur Thompson, who was a gangland criminal in Glasgow area in Scotland. And if you read up about him, you'll see that there was lots of apparent murders and crime, awful crimes. And if it's true what they put about the research, then he wasn't a very nice character at all. And obviously there'll be descendants of him as well now in all of this. And I think that's what we're looking at potentially with Mark Thompson and the links that I'm finding into the BBC. And interestingly, he was also the head of the in charge, and I believe he possibly still is, of Ancestry. So this means they've had the ability to corrupt the evidence or information, public information of family bloodlines through Ancestry. All right. And of course, this then links in with what appears to be the infiltration of the royal family and the connection to the Thompsons and to the Krays and their involvement in that infiltration, and going back to how the Vatican seemed to have influenced that infiltration of the royal families. So this Thompson connection is really, really big. And my family, not only did they associate with the Kray twins, so I was told, and I've seen a picture that suggests that's what happened, and it would make sense with all of the evidence that I'm finding, because there's actually connections to associates of the Krays to my family through the Company's House records, almost immediately, linking in with the intelligence agencies, etc. But they, so that the Arthur, sorry, what was I going to say? My adoptive family, or my father's adoptive family side, had a Thompson connection. Okay, and the Thompsons also run the Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which actually then ties in with what Vanessa is telling me. I can't at the moment find any sort of issue with what Vanessa is telling me in relation to her being the real heir to the throne. All of the evidence is supporting that. Of course, I'm very open-minded, and I do need to consider that certain people may have been positioned as part of a bigger deception, but at the moment the evidence is supporting what Vanessa is claiming. And in fact, I'm finding all of the evidence all of the time to actually support what Vanessa is saying. And it would make absolute sense when you look at the infiltration of the Vatican in 1870 involving the Freemasons, it seems, and then the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini in 1871 afterwards, setting out the 3 World War deception, and then them wanting to control and manipulate those that may stand in their way around the world as they're trying to reach their conclusive agenda of world control, but ultimately is still, according to all of the evidence I've got, the potential attack on all of creation in all of this, and how it ties into a doomsday cult, which many, many people involved in the fraud won't even know about that. Okay, they'll all be thinking they've been given a position in a new control system around the world, possibly where they're trying to take over the world, but ultimately the all of the deception and the attack seems to be as though it's going to be against everybody, even those people that are part of this fraud. And then then you're going into the realms of how the falsified apocalypse element in this, and the falsified biblical prophecies link in, and that being used as a control mechanism. And I'm finding, again, more evidence all the time tying into this. I've now done research around Oprah Winfrey, mind-blowing. More research now tying into and supporting the fact or the evidence that is suggesting, I mean, it's pretty overwhelming. I'm finding it all of the time. Whether they've positioned that deliberately there for me to find it as a deception, I don't know. But at the moment, I'm found loads and loads of connections supporting that Prince Harry wore the skin of Madeleine McCann in his shoes at the time of Jeffrey Epstein's arrest. And I've just found, or around the time of his arrest, and I'm finding evidence all of the time to support that. So that does appear to be, unfortunately, at the moment, I've got to say that's what it looks like. That's what happened to Madeleine McCann and why she is so important in all of this. And then there's loads and loads more evidence building around the hunting of children and how that ties in with fox hunting being used as a cover, and that linking in with the horse trade, the bloodstock trade, and stud farming in relation to horses, and bloodstock being used to hide the trade in relation to the blood of the tortured children, and how this links back in with the Vatican. I mean, it's just mind-blowing, and I'm finding this all of the time. But where was I going to go with that? I'll come to some questions in a minute. Actually, I'll have a look at the questions now, and then I'll come on to what I was saying. Just going back a little bit on the comments. If you've got any questions, put them on there. Hi, Maureen. Yeah, it's an interesting question. What do they think they are doing? Well, first of all, I think they're completely lost. I don't think they're even thinking straight. I think they've lost any rationality. And I think a lot of that could be because of the substances that are being taken by those running our world, because you've got the international drug trade is linking in with this. So most of them are using our money through tax and other financial institutions, I suspect, for their addictions. So that's the first thing to understand. They're not thinking rationally, and they're not, they're not making decisions with clarity. And of course, they've separated from moral conscience because of that. Irrationality is gone. So the first thing is we need to understand I don't think they know what they're doing. I think they're completely lost, if I'm being honest with you. And I don't think they know where they're exactly aiming for. I think they're winging it at the moment a lot of the time. And my exposure, I believe, probably has the potential to influence the outcome of all of this. And I think they want me to know that. So, yeah, it's an interesting concept, the whole question of why or what they're doing in all of this. And a lot of it is speculative, of course. But what I do know is we've got a criminal financial system which is motivating all of this. And 100%, it is the key to whatever's going on in the world at the moment. And therefore, it is the key on how we resolve whatever's going on in the world at the moment, 100%. Just reading through the comments. Jane Asher, bloodline, interesting. Two men from Glasgow were drivers. Two men from Glasgow were drivers that were twins, from the twins. So I think what you're saying there, Martin, is that the craze was somehow linked to the drivers in Glasgow. Is that what you're saying? Someone said the aliens are going to take them and us over. What then? No, I believe that's a deception, Maureen. I don't believe that at all. Based on all of the evidence I've got, I think that was part of one of their cards that they were going to try and play as a fake alien deception in all of this. Fake alien invasion. Gary, whenever you go missing for a few days, I worry so much. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I've just been doing loads and loads of research, and I haven't been putting any comments or coming on because I've got this connection to QAnon. I'm now thinking that everyone that's contacting me may be part of this, and I'm some sort of huge experiment. So I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this at the moment and understand how I relate to everything that's going on. And it's clear that I'm a big part of whatever's going on at the moment. And you'll see, I mean, there's links into Oprah Winfrey to literally the town that I was working and living in, and an address right near where I was living, straight in from Oprah Winfrey. It's just unbelievable. Now, of course, I'm having to think, well, have they positioned that information to make me think I'm somebody when I'm not? So that, I'm just trying to really use my discernment to try and figure out all of this, what's deception, what's not, put all of the evidence in, and then I can really reassess it. But you'll see when you get my document, you'll see what I've done is I've made it easier to cross-reference. So what I've done, for example, you'll come to a link within a company, and then after that, I'll put, and this company connects to this throughout the document. And then what you can do is go and check that within the document by searching it based on what I'm telling you the cross-reference is. So I'm trying to make it easier to navigate the document. And I'm just reading through it, and it's just mind-blowing how it all connects in. Michael Jackson, linking in with Princess Diana, linking in with the Jeffrey Epstein, and everything ties in so quickly, which suggests you've got a very small number of people actually running this whole SHIT show. All right. And then they've manipulated and controlled by whatever methods they have all of the other people that were involved in it. That's what it seems to be the case from all of this. I think you've got multiple roles being played by the same people, multiple identities potentially being used by the same people, and where there's no verification, and there's still no verification, everybody. All right. What they've done, just to talk about the verification. So what they've done is they've set up Companies House in 1844, okay, a way of supposedly registering companies, but it's actually been used clearly as a way of manipulating that information and use it to commit very serious crime and fraud against all of humanity. And where there's been no verification, that means they've allowed fake names and fake addresses to be used, all right, which means you've got an illusion of a system using people that don't really exist, fake addresses, so there's no accountability and liability, there's no litigation continuity, so you wouldn't be able to actually hand a letter of litigation to anybody to do that company, because they've set it up in a way where it's all hidden and it doesn't really exist, you see. And it's a complete inversion. The whole Companies House thing is an inversion, set up to make it look as though they're regulating companies, actually set up to actually hide the fraud behind the international system, and how they're able to then funnel it all through into this agenda that I'm talking about. And for the first time ever, on the 26th of October 2023, it's no coincidence, that was less than 3 weeks after the Israel attacks on the 7th of October 2023, Companies House publicised for the first time ever that they were going to be verifying some Companies House details. Some, which meant they could be selective. As time went on, and in 2024, I think it was, or 25, I can't remember, they then implemented some verification processes. On the 18th of November last year is when they actually implemented supposedly digital ID verification for directors on Companies House. But what they're allowing is third-party verification. And I've got the proof in what they're now doing is allowing criminal organizations to verify the details of the linked criminal organizations, and that third party then tells Companies House that they verified the criminal organizations. So it's completely flawed, and they've done that deliberately, because what that then does is removes the accountability and liability from the government and allows the fraud to continue, because the Companies House registration system is a Companies House register, and how it's run is by a government organisation. So they've set up third-party verification by criminal organisations for criminal organisations to allow this to continue. So there is no verification going on at all, everybody, which tells you how much they're panicking, because they've had to try and make it seem to the public that there is to placate all of this, but there isn't. So this means they are desperate to continue with their agenda, whatever that may be. So this is how farcical it is now. All right, it really is. It's actually laughable when you look through the evidence and you realise it's just laughable what I'm seeing now, and how blatant the corruption is in all of this. And they are just not thinking. They're not. Clearly, they're not. I don't want to be rude. I mean, they deserve me to be rude, but I'm not going to be. So anyway, what was the other thing I was going to say? The Jim Carrey thing, I've researched, and that's very, very relevant to what I'm doing. And it looks as though, if you're not aware, Jim Carrey or somebody acting like him went to an awards show. Okay, and it was called the Caesar Awards, which is no coincidence, because that links back in with Rome and the Saturnalia evidence that I'm exposing. But during that his award speech, information was given, which I'm not going to give it away until I get the document out too much, but information was given that has led me to uncover critical evidence in relation to the worldwide control of the financial system, and actually just supporting everything that I've been saying in a massive, huge way. It's just huge what I'm finding. I've also done research around Ellen DeGeneres. I can't remember what her surname is, and that is proving critical. In 2024, Ellen, if you don't know who she is, she did a talk show. I don't know how to DeGeneres. I don't know. Anyway, she moved from America to England into the Cotswolds area in 2024 with her partner Portia de Rossi, and I've researched them both. Absolutely critical. It's going into everything that I've already been exposing, and the Cotswolds is where my brother-in-law's family live, who are linked to the main Freemasons lodge, and they're linked to Jimmy Savile and Elon Musk and everything else. And then in July, there were articles that Ellen is now selling her house in the Cotswolds, and going to now they're claiming they're going to buy a bigger house in the same sort of area. Anyway, yeah, so research around Ellen and her partner is critical in relation to this as well, that I've now done. And I've done so much research today. Let me come to the questions. Trying to think what else to tell you, because I'm not going to be on it for long. This was just a quick update, really just to let you know that I'm still here and still alive, more than anything. And then what I'm going to do when I've got the document out is go through some of that evidence with you, and then decide what I'm going to be doing next, because we can't sit back, okay, just allow this to carry on. We can't live under a deceptive criminal system. We have to change this whilst we have the opportunity to do it, to ensure that our future generations, I don't have children, but to ensure that future generations don't live in a world of deception and lies, and where they can live in a world of truth and transparency. Someone's put, you were blessed with courage, strength and wisdom, yet you refuse to stand up for your brethren. Not too sure what that means. I'm not standing up for any system of corruption and crime and deceit and lies. This is why I'm sorry if you're not talking to me there. I've had to expose practically my entire family in this, and that's what I need to do when I believe that there's children at risk and potentially all of creation. So I won't be part of any organisation that has, and fortunately I've never been part of the Freemasons, which looks as though they're massively involved. But how can I condone anybody or any organisation that is about secrets, lies and deception, and that facilitates international crimes against humanity? You can't. I'll just mention, actually no, I'll come to the question, sorry, otherwise I'll just talk forever. Pope, yeah, the red shoes, all links in with the popes, absolutely. Christy Bella, yeah, absolutely. The Red Shoe Club and McDonald's Red Shoe Society, and the popes traditionally wore, every now and then, I can't remember why, but they wore red shoes. So yeah, it's all linking in with the Vatican. And my evidence overwhelmingly supports that they are making, I hope it's a deception, but I'm finding a lot of evidence making those shoes out of the skin of the tortured children. But Gary here would rather talk shit instead of standing with his brothers in arms against the real war right now, which is keeping British men, women and children safe. I'm not too sure what you're talking about there, all right? If you can't have anybody involved in an international criminal system against humanity, so you need to explain who you are and what you mean by that. What do you mean by brethren? I printed the whole document. Brilliant, Lisa. Yes, I'm aware. The trouble is the document, how I've done it, and I will try and do it differently soon. I'm not adding the new evidence on the end of it because I'm trying to integrate it into the body of the document, which means if you've printed it, it's going to be a bit of a pain if you then want the extra evidence printed, unfortunately. Hi, Air Force. Hope you're doing okay. Thanks for coming on. War keeps nobody safe except the people invested in defence cause. Yep, they're all working collaboratively together in relation to what you're seeing. 100%. Your politicians are involved, the councillors are involved, the heads of the police, heads of government organisations, all world leaders. They're all involved in what you're seeing. Okay, now I pray that people aren't really dying, but at the moment we have to consider that they are, based on everything and all of the evidence and what we're seeing, that they're actually deliberately playing both sides and allowing people to die in all of this, which, if that's the case, emphasizes how much evil potentially is going on in this. I pray that that it's deception, and that a lot of what we're seeing isn't real. I do suspect some of it definitely isn't going to be real, and it's possible that a lot of it isn't. Gary, I post your content all the time. Truly, you are brave. Much love from South Africa. Thank you so much for your comment. Really, really appreciate it. I'm just doing what I believe is right. And, we've got to be willing to face any consequences, any risks, if we believe that children and all of creation might be a risk in all of this. There might not be a future for anybody. So, we've got to step away from the fear and just keep going, no matter what the consequences to us as individuals are. Thank you very much. Great to have you here from South Africa. Iran got ancient technology, Martin's put. Hi, Vanessa. Hope you're doing okay. What do you think about Martin Lewis? Oh, he'll be part of the deception. Don't trust him. He's got a platform. Anyone that's got a huge platform like that, he'll be being there to manipulate and control the information. It's all criminal. All right, it's all fraudulent. You all don't need to pay anything if you don't want, because they've got a criminal system in place. And you can't penalise somebody for not complying to a criminal system legally. Okay, legally. This is why when they took my motorhome, it was theft, because you cannot penalise somebody for not partaking in a criminal system that deliberately facilitates all of the crimes against humanity. Even if you just look at section, as I've said before, I think it's section 15 of the Terrorism Act 2000. Anyone that's paying into this system now is actually a terrorist under the legislation. Okay, if you're paying your taxes and it's going in towards terrorist organisations, and you even just maybe think that may be the case, you don't even have to know it. Everybody, you're a terror. You become a potential terrorist under that section 15 of the Terrorism Act. So there is your way to prevent your non-compliance to this criminal financial system. And everybody, this is so easily resolved. Right? It's so easily resolved, it's unbelievable. But by resolving it, you expose the entire system and everyone involved in it. All right. And the way you resolve this is you have correct verification processes, okay, to bring in accountability and liability for any incorporations, and a transparent financial system. So any local, national, and international public spending funds and other financial elements are transparent at the source of payments. Easily done in a way that means whatever leadership you have in place, they know that how they're spending or deciding how to spend that money is being watched by everybody. It's game over. It will be over. And you will never, ever have this happening again. There'll be a few creases to iron out. There'll be a few teething issues. And it's not going to be a great time for those that are alive at the moment. But it will end up leading to a system that will prevent this ever happening again. Just quickly, I want to mention the movie Knowing. If you haven't seen it, I watched it the other day. I've actually, because I've been thinking about all of this so much, I've had a little bit of a break from some of the research, and I watched the movie Knowing the other day. If you haven't seen it, it's Nicolas Cage, and it's about a prediction of an apocalypse of the end of the world in relation to a solar flare. But leading up to that event, there's predictions of other disastrous events, and it mentions the World Trade Center disaster, the Lockerbie bombing, the Oklahoma bombing, and others. Well, I believe from the evidence I've got that the Lockerbie bombing and the World Trade Center bombing or disaster is a collaborative deception against all of humanity. All right. Now, in this movie, it says that they were predicted leading up to this solar flare that ends all life, and then aliens come down and the aliens save a lot of the children and go to another planet. Was this them telling us that they are planning a deception in terms of an apocalyptic event? Because I've also found evidence around the apocalypse deception, which was what's his name? Darren Brown, the hypnotist, was involved in an apocalypse deception in 2012, where he was falsely, obviously, making somebody believe that the world was going to end by an asteroid hitting the Earth. And that asteroid was called Swift. And Swift is the name of the international transaction system they use in this international government fraud. And that was set up in 1973. They started using it, okay, the Swift system. And that system is the way they transfer money into offshore accounts in relation to this international government fraud and how it ties in with Companies House. And that was started to be used in 1973, which is when the World Trade Center building was finished being completed. Okay, the exact same year. And the World Trade Center building started to be built in 1966, which is when the Church of Satan was founded. And it all ties in with this, basically. Anyway, this apocalyptic deception with Darren Brown, where he made somebody believe the world was ending with an asteroid strike, and they used special effects, they used his family members, they set up fake news coming on the TV, etc., 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 making him believe it was going to be the end of the world. And Darren Brown, when you research him on the Companies House records, he links straight in to the international crime and the deception. He also links very quickly to the College of Policing, which means a link to the police in the deception around the apocalypse falsification. Now, of course, that came out in 2012. Well, 2012 is when the end of the Mayan calendar happened, right? In 2012, the movie that you saw came out in 2009, okay, called 2012, about earthquakes, tsunamis, and an apocalyptic end potentially to the Earth. Well, that came out in 2009, same year as Knowing, the movie that I've just told you about, came out as well. And what other movie came out in 2009? The movie Angels and Demons, the second part in the Da Vinci Code movie, which was about CERN and about the Vatican, the two main areas where my evidence all converges. 2009 was the same year that I became a director of Exbourne Manor, and it's the same year when the main company in the fraud, the Royal Foundation, the Prince and Princess of Wales, was also incorporated on Companies House. And I found loads of connections to that from, for example, who I told you about earlier, what's his name? Mark Thompson, former head of the BBC, linked straight in to the Royal Foundation for the Prince and Princess of Wales, straight away. He was involved in supposedly trying to deal with the Jimmy Savile exposure whilst working for the BBC. Clearly, he's part of it. He's linked to Jimmy Savile. He's linked to all of these people that appear to be part of this criminal international system that appears to be facilitating the crimes against children and the skinning of children alive. So, so that movie, Knowing, could have been them telling us that they were planning a falsified apocalyptic event, tying in with all of the other evidence that are already acquired. And of course, you had the asteroid evidence where they made me realize that I have the ability to potentially determine the outcome of all of this, where I was looking at the research of the doomsday clock, and it led to a company called 2032 Limited. And I went on a live stream and said, I believe potentially they're going to try and falsify an apocalyptic event to tie in with the 7-year tribulation in 2032, maybe with an asteroid strike. 2 days later, all over the front pages, all over the world, an asteroid may hit the Earth in 2032. So let me just read some of the questions. When you're coming back up to Inverness, arresting the local Bobby was epic. Who arrested the local Bobby? Oh, when I was stopped, you mean? When I was stopped. I need to think very carefully about what I do. The first thing I need to do is get my document out to as many people as I can. Once I've done that, then I'm probably going to have a couple of days a proper break, okay? Because literally I've been, well, I won't say non-stop, but I've been trying my hardest most of the time to do the research, get it into a document, and network it a little bit through lives. So I'm going to have a break whilst I think about what I do next. And I will be doing something, okay? There's no way I'm going to just sit back and do nothing when I believe that children are at risk in all of this. So it could be that whatever I do may be a catalyst to a change. If nobody else is going to do anything, then that may be the time when things potentially change. I don't know. But I'm not going to sit back and do nothing. Gary, why does Swift Incorporation have 2 addresses? Yeah, quite often they do. So on the incorporation document, you normally have different people. You might have multiple people. I've seen sometimes 50 people on a incorporation startup, roughly. So you'll have multiple addresses, but they also have incorporation companies that are incorporating the incorporation companies. This is part of their element of trying to get away with this, you see. They believe they have a shield, and because it's a corporation, nothing can happen to them in all of this. Of course it can. All right, because they are making the decisions for the corporations. So you still have the conspiracy or conspiring to commit offences through the control of these organisations. And that is why I'm saying they all need to be arrested for conspiring to allow international fraud and facilitating the international crimes against humanity and children. All of them could be arrested in theory. If there was enough people now to go and arrest them, it would be the best offence, conspiring to allow international fraud to continue, because none of them are doing anything about it and they're ignoring it all. So you might have several addresses on an incorporation for a company, because several companies are involved and several people are sometimes involved in the incorporation of that company. Hopefully that makes sense. Right now on the news, as in right now, they are saying that we might face blackouts. Okay, yeah, and what they will be thinking is, how do we get away with this? Now, I've been anticipating that they'll take the entire Companies House record system down. Well, by doing that, they're obviously exposing themselves. They've already removed 11,500 companies that they've publicised, where the National Crime Agency last year publicised they suddenly, like that, removed 11,500 companies. Now, that is because they are worried about what's coming out. It's international fraud. They're worried about that. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. There's some sort of blackouts, but they have been saying that for a very long time. It's probably for the last 2 or 3 years. I've been hearing consistently that there might be a blackout in relation to the exposure and everything that's going on. But yeah, it's interesting. It could happen any time, because obviously as the exposure continues and the evidence builds, they're going to be left with little to no option left. But one of those options, which won't help them in the long run, okay, nothing's going to help them in this other than coming out with the truth. Whatever they do, whether they go and hide in their tunnel systems, I believe they're going to flood. There's no way out of this for them, I believe. Even if they get rid of me now, the only answer is for truth, and that will set everybody free, even them. It's about the Trumstein files. Oh, I'm not aware of the Trumstein files. Excuse me. So glad you've gone live, Gary. Got loads of messages asking how you are. Yeah, sorry, Vanessa. I don't know if you was on earlier. Basically, because I found the link to the QAnon. And if you don't know what QAnon is, someone said I didn't know what it was earlier, and I'm not 100% sure, but it seems as though it's the underground secret operative resolution to everything going on in the background involving Donald Trump, etc. And I've now found what appear to be links practically immediately to me, or references to QAnon to me, via the research, and that comes straight from several angles. So you've got the P Diddy connection coming in, QAnon, and I'm still trying to build the evidence. And what I will do is actually read a lot of the evidence and go through it with everybody once I've got the document out, so that you can. So don't need to flood emails until you say documents are ready. Anyways, today, real pic/real. I haven't emailed you yet, as don't need to flood emails until you say document is ready. Yeah, that's a good idea. Anyways, today, real pic, real human. All right, yeah, because I'm doing a live stream. Yeah, so loads of people have been waiting weeks for the document. So I'm really sorry, but I'm just finding that I need to add more evidence all of the time at the moment. It's still about control, just as Gary said. Yeah, absolutely. They will absolutely want to control everybody. But I think and a lot of people will be thinking, oh, we're going to be part of this control mechanism. But my evidence says they're all actually going to be targeted as victims in all of this. So, they all need to get on board with this. resolution in bringing in a new system, and it has to be a new system of transparency, all right, which would be on a transitional basis, at least I believe, an account, for example, where everybody can log on, national, international, and public, local, national, and international accounts if necessary. So, for example, we've got a local government account just on a transitional basis until we iron out all of the creases in all of this, and there will be a lot of ironing to do, but where we will actually be able to log on and see the collective income coming in periodically in relation to council tax, for example, into an account at the source of the payments. There's never been that opportunity for humanity, never been the opportunity to do that. And then you see where that expenditure is being spent, where that money is being spent from that account. For example, police, £20,000 this year or whatever, and it will be done in bulk payments to make it slightly easier to see where your money is being spent. Now, what that immediately means is if, for example, let's just say I was on a transitional basis, I was a councillor and or an MP for your area, I would know that you're watching that money. So therefore, I know I can't corrupt your money, all right, because you're watching it all of the time. So every constituent will be able to see the trail of the money, all right, and they'll be able to check it and audit it. Public auditing. This is the key. This is absolutely the key, at least transitionally, so we work out heaven on earth practically, all right? And you'll know exactly what money is required then through any taxes, through any public spending for maintenance and the running of society. And the moment you have, because it's all being hidden from you. I hear they're saying we may lose cell connections and the internet too. All part of the plan. Yeah, quite possibly. And they'll probably get rid of me when they're doing that. QAnon was meant to save us. Yeah, I mean, the QAnon thing, as far as I'm aware, it started from 2016. Well, that's when the Pizzagate scandal started to be exposed and the evidence around Jeffrey Epstein started to be leaked. So to me, it looks as though what they've done is they've panicked. They've realised that international politics and governments and the formations of governments is being exposed. And they probably didn't realise it would link into the Reformation like I have, because that then links back into the Vatican and the whole international formation of governments around the world, linking in with Germany and the fake Nazi deception, linking in with the Albert Pike letter of 1871, all tying this in together, you see. So I think what they did was they panicked. They needed to create an illusion that they were dealing with the crimes against the children for when it came out, but maintain the system of crime that deliberately facilitates the crimes against the children at the same time, to make you believe they're saving the children, maintain the system of crime they have in place to launder the money from the masses, exploit, victimize, and control them through the system of crime and fraud. And I still, according to all of the evidence, I still believe that is the case. I still believe that nobody's coming out, all right, and saying about the Companies House fraud. Nobody within government, all of the people talking about Jeffrey Epstein, supposedly all these trials taking place and interviewing Bill Clinton and whatever, nobody is talking about the laundering system they've got in place. So that tells me they want it to continue. And that means they want to be able to continue to harm the children and to launder the money through international conflicts and the terrorism. And they're all involved in it, everybody. They've had over 700 years, at least 700 years, to position everybody around the world. All right. And it looks as though they've literally set everything up around this ability to exploit and victimize and control financially, physically, and psychologically all of humanity. Disguised as the savior. Yeah. And this is why, you had, I believe this is why you had Vladimir Putin, these articles came out on social media that he's now saved a load of children from tunnel systems. They had to do that. They have to make you believe that they're saving the children, because the children are what unites the entire world. You see, when people think that the most innocent of all are suffering, they know most decent people will put their lives on the line if necessary and will stand up for the innocents. So they had to make it look as though they were trying to resolve it. You see, I don't believe they are. I'm sorry, everybody. According to all of my evidence, it seems as though that's not the case. Right? Nobody's talking about the system they've got in place. None of the right things are happening. The verification things I've just told you about, they're allowing criminal verification to take place. Okay? Why have police dogs try and track me down? Why try and get me to kill myself in prison with a pill by a prisoner they put in the cell with me? All of these things would not be. There's loads more. Overwhelming evidence suggests they are not doing and resolving this international criminal system and how it relates to the crimes against children. And in fact, everything tells me that they are just deliberately allowing it to continue and trying to think how they can get away with it. This is why the what's it called? World Marshal Authority came out and said that everybody, look, we've arranged for you to get over £8,000 a month for 20 years, all right, as compensation. Oh, what? That has just told me exactly that you are panicking massively. No amount of money will resolve this. All right, a new system to protect and safeguard humanity and the children moving forward. But it means those controlling the world in their bloodlines will lose control forever. Unfortunately, that's the way it has to be. That's the way it has to be. A system to protect humanity forever, to prevent any further deception against humanity, any further suffering, to allow absolute fairness, integrity, equality to everyone around the world, no matter what their skin color, no matter what their faith group. Okay, as long as there's moral conscience as a foundation, this will never happen again. And they know they're in serious trouble. They know they're in serious trouble. So I don't believe it's being resolved. There's too much evidence to the contrary, to be honest with you. And I think this is going to be down to the people to do the right thing and to follow my strategy, because I can tell you now, I don't think there's many people out there that have a platform that are actually innocent. If they're not talking about this, you can't trust them. If they're not talking about the Companies House fraud, you can't trust them. Remember, it's linked to international drug trade. It's linked to the sex trade, legal and illegal. It's linked to cults as well. It's linked to, obviously, vast amounts of money, trillions of pounds, multi-trillions of pounds worth of fraud. All of those things have the ability to corrupt many people. Okay, I'm not corrupted by any of them. Okay, none of those things have corrupted me. I don't drink, don't take drugs, never been interested in harming a child. I'm not worried about money. You know, obviously I need money, and I've got money. Fortunately, at the moment, I've got enough to keep me going. But I'm not motivated by vast sums of money to bribe me to be quiet in this. It won't work, no matter what they offer me. It will not work. And this is why I think they know this. I think they know something about me, because otherwise you wouldn't have all of these connections into me. The Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table. I've now found more connections into the Round Table organisation. I've done some more research around that. And for whatever reason, you've got David Icke, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Jimmy Savile, key people in all of this, linked to all three of my families. Knights Templars connections. Karen's only just received notification. Yeah, I haven't. Thanks, Karen. I didn't. I had planned doing this call. This is just, of course, this is just a impromptu live, really just to let everyone know that I'm still alive at the moment. So, have you considered possible cloning behind some of their crap? Yeah, I've researched cloning. That's in my document now. I've researched, and I can't ignore the evidence around the cloning. I absolutely believe that has to be a consideration in all of this based on my evidence. Yeah. What's the other subject? Embryonic experimentation. Cloning. There was another subject I was going to tell you about that I've researched. It's gone out of my mind. So yes, cloning's in my document now. So when you get the new document, you'll see what I've done on that. A medium on TikTok said that Jim Carrey isn't safe right now. Yeah, I mean, based on it looks as though he's linked into the corruption. But it might be that he really, I mean, he practically told us he was, wasn't he, on the show where he did the whole mouth thing and told us that the Illuminati was linked into it. Well, this has prompted me to research the Illuminati as well a bit more, and that ties in, of course, with the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini, who was the head of the Illuminati, linking in with the Vatican. And the evidence that I've found from Jim, I get the document out first, and then once I know that that document is circulating, then I can start coming on, doing some lives and publicising and talking about some of the actual evidence. But it looks as though he was trying to give disclosure as to what's going on, and whether he's okay or not, I don't know. But he is also implicated in it, it looks like, from the research. Better known as degenerate. Yeah, degenerous. The other research I've done is, do you remember the... it's actually proved really, whether this was deliberate or not, I don't know. Was involved in a famous selfie that was taken at the Oscars in 2014. It was taken by another actor, and she was, well, the research, believe it or not, the research from that selfie has proved very, very important to my evidence. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to get the document out. Now, whether they did that deliberately to give me a pointer in the right direction or not, I don't know, but it's proved very, very useful. What do you know about Rupert Lowe? Rupert Lowe needs to be arrested, according to my evidence. All of them do. The Rupert Lowe evidence is absolutely massive. Okay, he's straight into the international criminal network. If you go and look at him on Companies House, I think he's got 51 companies on his name. Southampton Football Club, well, straight away, there you go. That's the area where Deborah Fleming was. And the football organisations are a massive part of the laundering of the money. But critically, through Rupert Lowe, I made connections to criminal firearms organisations, literally firearms companies in the same county as my brother-in-law's family, bearing in mind we've just been talking about Ellen DeGeneres moving there, and they then links in with the hunting or potential hunting of children on estates, and how they're using fox hunting as a cover for the hunting of the children. And then, as I've said earlier, the bloodstock trade in relation to the horses and the stud farming to hide the trade of the blood of the tortured children through this criminal network as well. So yeah, Rupert Lowe needs to be arrested in my eyes. If I could, and they all need to be arrested in theory, okay, but absolutely the priority needs to be arrest the solicitors. The solicitors, all of them need to be arrested. They've been centralised to the Temple Bar, right? And the Temple Bar links in with the research of the paedophile information exchange and with the Sweeney Todd group, which the Sweeney Todd, as you know, was, I'm sure, a character. Well, they practically told us they set up a group called Sweeney Todd Group. Okay, it was a character, a barber that cut the throats of the victims, put them in the basement, and then they made pies, P-I-E, pies, paedophile information exchange, out of the bodies and put them in the pies. Well, at the Temple Bar, which used to exist on Fleet Street in London, they used to eat pies. Okay, the politicians, the barristers, they used to go into a pub and eat mutton pies. They've said PIE, paedophile information exchange. Fleet Street is where Sweeney Todd was based. Okay, it all links in, and the research surrounding that links in with Ghislaine Maxwell via the evidence. And what they've done is when you're going through the Sweeney Todd group, all of the centralised main solicitors are linked into that organisation through the Companies House records, and they all connect to an organisation called Field Fisher. Well, Field Fisher has the contract for the BBC. It's a solicitor, has the contract for the BBC, and it links to the De Reyers, which links to the Vatican, it links to the Royals, and I believe it's a German organisation, which then links back into the Nazi deception in all of this, back into the Reformation when Gutenberg was publicising the religious documents in relation to the Vatican and the Reformation. And it's one thing I have found out recently, which is, I didn't know this. Okay, the Reformation, I believed it was a worldwide Reformation in the 1300s. No, it started in Scotland. It looks like the Reformation that I thought was the world was actually began from Scotland. Now, this is critical because this now ties in with the main active Freemason lodge, sorry, the oldest active Freemason lodge being in Edinburgh, and tying in with the Albert Pike letter, the infiltration of Rome involving the Freemasons in 1870, the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini in 1871, so from a high-level occultist Freemason, okay, who actually created the Scottish Rite Freemasons. The Scottish Rite, Edinburgh, okay? And I have evidence that Edinburgh is the real Jerusalem. When you research it's actually coming in from the Roslin Chapel, which is a Knights Templar location near Edinburgh, on the outskirts of Edinburgh, and it says in there that Edinburgh is, the Scottish ancestry was saying that Edinburgh, or was it Edinburgh? It might be Scotland. I won't say it, or I'll say somewhere. I think it was Edinburgh. Is the new Israel. Now, when you look at the deception around the Rothschilds' Balfour Declaration of 1917, that fermented Israel, okay? And obviously the Rothschilds are massively implicated in the international criminal network all the way through my research. They're entwined with the Goldsmith family. Goldsmith family had a former name of Goldschmidt. They were trying to stop it from sounding so German, if you like. And of course, this ties in with the Nazi deception, the World War deception again. And also the royal families. I've done more research around the royal families, the Spencer family, and the Winston Churchill is now in my document, linking in with the Spencer family. I've done research around the Windsors, and the Windsors changed their name from a German name. They have German ancestry, going back to Germany again. You see, it all ties in with this Nazi deception. So, and how that links in with the Vatican. So yeah, they've got this Sweeney Todd group that is centralized to the criminal network. It links to the main currency producer, okay, De La Rue, and De La Rue was originally started on Guernsey, I believe, in Ireland, so an offshore tax haven location on an island off the coast of UK, and then they moved to Hampshire, which is where the Flemings still are prominent, and the Flemings were the ones that initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor. You see, so Hampshire and Dorset is really, really important in all of this. I've now researched the White House, and I cannot ignore evidence linking into the Isle of Wight, which is in Hampshire. You'll see when you look at the document, you'll see the connections with the Queen Victoria actually died in a house called Osborne House, okay, on the Isle of Wight in 1901, I think it was. Well, at the same time, in 1901, that's when they named the White House the White House, okay? And when you come in from the White House Limited company, literally it's called the White House Limited, you make connections into the American government and to the Flemings and to Exbourne Manor, and therefore the Isle of Wight and everything that I've been exposing. It's huge. So the Flemings are a massive, massive part of all of this. One of the other bits of evidence I found, which is really interesting, is 2 days before the Queen's death. So she died on the 8th of September 2022. As I was starting to escalating my exposure, escalating my inquiries. I didn't publicly expose everything until 2023. But on the 6th, so she died on the 8th, supposedly. I don't believe she died at all. 8th of September 2022. 2 days before that, Zach Goldsmith, or Goldschmidt, former name, married a lady called Hum Fleming. Okay, Hum Fleming is linked in with the Fleming family. All right, so it looks as though they needed to solidify a marriage linking the Goldsmiths to the Flemings before they staged the Queen's death, 2 days before the Queen's death. That's massive. And the Goldsmiths are absolutely massive in all of this, everybody. All right, the Goldsmiths are really critical in the research. James Goldsmith, there's an article claiming that he was the real father of Princess Diana. Princess Diana died within 2 months of the original founder of the Church of Satan dying. It's all connected into my evidence. And James Goldsmith, Zach Goldsmith is James Goldsmith's son. Okay, and James Goldsmith was the boss for Douglas Smith, who has been the special advisor for the last few UK prime ministers in the United Kingdom, starting from the 1990s, leading up to the World Trade Center disaster deception. He was obviously clearly positioned as part of all of this, and he worked for James Goldsmith. He was also the advisor not only for the last few prime ministers, but he was also the advisor for the prime minister, or whatever you call the head of the Seychelles island. Well, that's an offshore tax haven location. So that's why you've got a load of Seychelles connections in all of this. So he obviously was fomenting the criminal offshore fraudulent system with that connection that he had in with the Seychelles as well. She's Order of the Eastern Star, someone's put. The film The Island will give a clue as to what Epstein was up to. The islands are massively important in all of this. This is why you had Bob Seeley, who was, and it's no coincidence, everybody, he was the MP for the Isle of Wight, okay? He set up an informal parliamentary island group for the UK, all right? An informal UK parliamentary parliament group, okay? And that's linked to Ghislaine Maxwell. That's linked to Gima via the Company's House records. Now, they're tax haven locations. Also, this is why I believe the yachts element in all of this. Okay, so yachts play a big part, as in boats, because what that enables them to do is launder the money through to tangible assets, but also the yachts enable the travelling to the islands and the crimes against the children as well in relation to those islands and the boats. And Michelle Mone acquired a yacht, didn't she, through the PPE scandal and property. Michelle Mone links with Ghislaine Maxwell very, very quickly via Farrah and Co. And Farrah and Co. connects to what was I going to say? Ghislaine Maxwell. Farrah and Co. links to the royal family almost immediately via the research as well. Farrah and Co. So Ghislaine Maxwell was a director for Oxford Football Club, believe it or not. Oxford is where Ghislaine Maxwell and Robert Maxwell lived and where they were prominent. She was a director for Oxford Football Club. Obviously, the football club element into this, as I've said, is really, really important. Any of you still going to see football matches and watching the football, you are facilitating the crimes against the children, everybody. You need to boycott, as hard as that's going to be for you, you need to boycott all football games. All right, you need to don't go to any of them. They are a massive part of the centralised criminal network, the international government fraud. David Beckham, okay, is linked now into the research of the Jeffrey Epstein files. He's been mentioned, I believe, and he links very quickly to my family, who are associated with the Cray twins. It's all connected, really, really quickly. All right, David Beckham's and his wife Victoria Beckham are linked into this international government fraud. Gary has deep dive videos on YouTube, hours of research, including Rupert Lowe and everybody else. Yeah, it's difficult. I was trying to show the actual evidence, but they've removed loads of my videos. Literally, I had 9. They were removing my lives. They don't want me obviously showing the evidence of all of this. Which is why the document is absolutely essential, because they'll struggle. I hope they'll struggle to control the document. This is where doors need kicking off in Aylsham. Catch the criminals on their computers. Yep. Everyone in that, according to all of the evidence, everyone in Aylsham village needs to be arrested and questioned in relation to this, and all of their computers seized. The deletes are living underground cities mainly, in my honest opinion. Yeah, possibly. Now, Exbourne Manor, where this sort of whole investigation began for me, EXBOURNE, separate word, Manor, that's where the company that where I was involved in the initial investigation, where I was a director. When you put Exbourne and then Manor backwards, translate it, stay out of the water. I was I was trying to understand what that meant. I believe it means that any tunnel systems will flood and kill any of these people that are involved in this. And I do not. That's why I don't think they. I don't want them to be harmed. I don't want them to suffer. I advise you, if you're part of this, do not go into a tunnel system. If you're being told of a fake natural apocalyptic event, do not go into those tunnel systems. You need to come forward with the truth. The truth is what will resolve all of this for the innocents and those not involved in the most serious crimes against the children. Okay, it will set everybody free. It will enable a new system on Earth to safeguard humanity and safeguard children forever, and it will never, ever, ever happen again. All right, if it is done in the right way. I am seeing more and more people rebelling against the system. Yeah, it's not enough, and we need it. What we need is everybody following the same strategy. If you don't have that, then you're going to have potential chaos. You're not going to have a controlled transition into a new system. And that's why I've done the strategy that I have based on the evidence, showing all of the evidence, making it verifiable for all of you so you can see that it's true, because obviously I understand people might not trust me, people might not like me. I understand that. That is why I've done this document, so I can just say, well, there you go, there's the document, go and check it. Nobody so far has come back to me from the previous documents and said that they can't see that it's true what I'm saying. Not one person. More people refusing to pay council tax and other bills. Yeah, I don't think that'll be enough now. I think even if everybody stops paying their bills, I don't think that's going to be enough. I think, remember, they would have accumulated. Now, a few months ago, I would have said, start with that. But obviously, my evidence has escalated. And what I'm finding is more and more concerning continuously every day, what I'm finding. When you look at, now I hope it's a deception. And it's possible. I do have to consider that it's all been positioned, or a lot of it's been positioned as part of an experiment on me, a deception to see what I'm going to do with all of this. But you've got a contract that's been given to few marquees to house bodies, okay, starting in 2025 for the next 2 years. Now that organisation links straight to my wife's family via the research. You've got my wife's half sister called Charlotte. Okay, works for an organisation called Marquee Group. Now, it could be they set this all up to make me find it, establish it, expose it, and this is some sort of huge experiment on me because there's something they know about me or something like that. All right, that potentially. And, you've now got this link to the QAnon side of things into me as well, it looks like. So, but at the moment, I've still got to consider that there is a real threat to all of you. There is a threat to the children, and there is a threat to all of creation. So I need to keep moving forward, believing that those threats are still real, because the evidence overwhelmingly suggests they are. So you have this contract with few marquees to house mass amounts of bodies. Now, I think it's interesting because there was all this, everyone was really panicking about it, and I was getting concerned about it as well, because I also had a depopulation report that got leaked to me, which again could have been staged, but there was a report that suggested the world's population would be massively reduced. And obviously initially I was thinking, well, this ties in with this contract with the marquee, with the body, but it was only 700 bodies. It wasn't like millions of bodies. So it looks as though they position that as a if you like, a scare tactic for some people. But it's still there. You still have this evidence linking in with the international fraud in this company. More people refuse. I mentioned that. I've heard Madam McCann became red shoes. Yeah, unfortunately that's what my evidence, all of my evidence suggests that's the case. Unless they, now I'm finding evidence suggesting that all of the time. All right, it's really quite overwhelming that Prince Harry wore Madeleine McCann's skin, and remember, he suddenly moved to America, didn't he? Suddenly moved to America in January 2020, the month after the outbreak in December, Wuhan, and it was July 2019 when the article came out and said that Prince Harry was wearing the same pair of shoes. Now this for a prolonged period of time. Well, that's the month that Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, and that there was a protest in Wuhan about incinerator plant being built in Wuhan. And it was the month afterwards, according to the research, when cell towers were erected in Wuhan, and then of course the outbreak in December. And when the cell towers were erected, August 2019, is when Jeffrey Epstein supposedly died in prison. But anyway, what was I going to say on the shoe thing? So, there was somebody helped me with some evidence the other day, actually. Scotty sent me some information which helped support that theory about the shoes, Prince Harry's shoes. And that was it. So on the incorporation document for Harry's Shoes Limited, that was incorporated a few days after the World Trade Center disaster, links immediately to CERN, via the World Wide Web organization that has Tim Berners-Lee as a former director who created World Wide Web for CERN. You have a company called Harbottle and Lewis. And is it Harbottle and Lewis, or is it another one? I can't remember. It's either Harbottle and Lewis or another company that's very important. Well, last year, Prince William said that he was not going to be using the solicitor's firm that they normally use, which is that one, on that document, and he used a different solicitor. Now, I think that's because they didn't, or they wanted me to find that evidence, find that article to support what I'm saying, but it looks as though they were panicking about using the same solicitor because it would create that connection to that document and supporting Prince Harry wearing the skin of Madeleine McCann in July 2019. Now, that Harbottle, whatever the company, I think it's Harbottle and Lewis, makes critical connections throughout my research now, linking in with the royal family, supporting that company, Harry's Shoes, was about Harry, and it was to do with Harry's shoes, and that changed its name from Harry's Shoes 6 days after Madeleine McCann went missing. 6 days. So it was created a few days, I think it was 10 or 11 days after the World Trade Center disaster in 2001, called Harry's Shoes. It then changed its name from Harry's Shoes 6 days after Madeleine McCann went missing. And in there you have JP Morgan Limited. JP Morgan Limited links to the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales via the research of Ingenious Film Partners 2, which links to my family, which links straight to the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales on the incorporation document. And right there, what do you have? Literally, right there, a Rothschild's company. Okay? And you have JP Morgan Limited. Now, JP Morgan Limited links to the research had already established of the Portuguese Chamber of Commerce. And that Portuguese Chamber of Commerce links straight to the Italian Chamber of Commerce, both criminal organisations. And of course, Portugal is where Madeleine McCann went missing. And you have that connection to Harry's Shoes, to the Portugal Chamber of Commerce, as well as the article of him wearing the same pair of shoes for a prolonged period of time in July 2019, the same month that Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, the same month that an incinerator plant protest took place in Wuhan, the month before cell towers were erected in Wuhan and Jeffrey Epstein died. Now, this is all linked in with a doomsday cult. I have now linked Prince Harry via the Harry Shoes connection to Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein immediately, all right, via an organisation on the Companies House records. Okay, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Harry, and also right there, not quite as close, but you've got a connection to David Icke. Well, that then ties it in with the falsified prophecies, because David Icke is linked in with Julian Assange and a doomsday cult, all tying in with the Collider technology. So we have a doomsday cult connection in all of this, linking in with our royal family, linking in with the head of the military, with the Flemings, with Julian Assange. All of this is all connecting together now via my research. Yeah, the military are working for, certainly the heads of the military. We've got to remember there will be a lot of innocent people, I believe, in the lower ranking side of this. I was innocent and I was in the police. That means there should be more innocents. But at the moment, it's looking as though there's too many Freemasons that are compromised by this. Many of them, I think, are going to be Freemasons. I never was, so I haven't been compromised by being a Freemason. I phoned HMRC, someone's put the other day, and told them straight off the evidence, read them their rights over the phone. Woman on the end of the phone didn't know what to do. Well done, Lisa. That's amazing, Lisa. That's what Lisa's put. So she's phoned the HMRC the other day, told them straight of the evidence, read them their rights over the phone. Woman on the end of the phone didn't know what to do. I phoned HMRC in the beginning of, it was either 2025 or 2024, recorded the phone call. They agreed that the whole system is fraud. This is one of their own representatives, okay? HMRC is a criminal organisation, everybody. It always has been. It's been set up specifically with this company's house fraud, all right, to launder money from the masses. It's obvious. It's absolutely obvious from my evidence. All government organisations have been set up. It's looking, at the moment, and I'm sorry to say this, that not only all government organisations, but the healthcare system has been set up specifically over this fraud. Now, I was just thinking that was a case, and this will be an element of it, where they can cause the health problems and then funnel money through the resolution, the problem, reaction, solution. But unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, that's the other thing I was going to say earlier, actually. I've also researched organ harvesting. Okay, and that, I can't ignore the evidence, is part of what's going on at the moment, right? Because the organs are worth a vast amount of money. Now, when you tie that in with the drug addiction problem, because this is all linked in with the international drug trafficking trade, which means you have a lot of people within our organisations, certainly within people that are running our governments, that are probably addicted to drugs. This provides a motive for them to not save your life, okay, because of the organ harvesting that appears to be going on in relation to the bodies. All right, so I have to consider that the NHS and medical organisations were set up specifically for that reason and how it links into the international government fraud. I'm sorry to say that. It would make complete sense with the evidence than what I'm getting. And this would explain why on your driving licence, if you've got 115, it means you're automatically saying that you will give donate your organs. So that now provides a motive for them not to save your life. There's also links in with the Dignity for Dying bill, doesn't it? That's just been passed, or I think it's passed now, which means that they can end your life with your consent. Now, because they're involved in international fraud, they can falsify that consent through documents, okay? Which means they can now take your life under this bill that they've created. It's all linked into this, all right, in the research within my documents. Criminal organisations are connected to that new assisted dying bill. If you tie that all in together, what they are looking for is an opportunity to get rid of people and also how they can harvest organs because they're not thinking rationally. You've got to remember, there's not an irrational way of thinking with these people. There's no moral conscience, right, because you've got international drug trafficking, which means we've got a huge problem with the removal of rationality and clarity through that drug network that's involved in all of this. So if you've got 115, to be honest with you, I think even without a 115, I think they would still do what it looks like they've been doing. So anyway, you've got the research of the organ harvesting in my document, and it's pretty mind-blowing. It's pretty mind-blowing and overwhelming what I've found in relation to that. I've got it saved on my phone. Going to try and get it saved on a stick. Brilliant, Lisa. And what you need to do is really try and publicize these videos. You know, any phone calls that are being made, try and get them out to us. Get it out to as many people as you can. And hope they don't take them all down. Gary is our secret weapon. I don't know if, don't rely on me, everybody. You can't rely on me. I've given you the evidence. I'm going to get it out. To this next document is massive. This is why I've spent so long between the last document publication and this one, because I'm putting so much more evidence into it now. Because once I know that's out, I can then decide my next move. Because it won't necessarily matter what happens to me then, because I'll be sort of satisfied that there's a massive disclosure of the evidence already circulating in the public domain. Micro and SD cards are much safer and more reliable than any other media. Yet you cannot rely on any third-party controlled system. You're absolutely right. The hard evidence on hard drives is best. That they keep hacking my document file links. There's no point me doing public document file links, all right, anymore. So this is why I'm sharing the document on an email, because they will struggle to control that so easily. When will the next files be released, Gary? I keep saying I'm going to be doing them tomorrow, and then I say tomorrow, and then I'm just like finding evidence, and I'm thinking, oh, I need to get that in there, and it's just going on and on, you know. It's weird how my numbers have literally gone right down to 31. They were 150 or so earlier, 140, now down to 30. I suspect that's deliberate. I'm not falling for anything until, as soon as they disclose the truth of their criminal network, big smokes, but don't fall for anything. Disclose the truth of the criminal financial system they have had in place. We cannot believe anything we're told or shown. It's as simple as that, because that provides the motive for the lies. Someone's put, CCF from the chamber I govern, not only to Paris, but to China, not only to China, but to all the world, without anyone to know how I do it. Michelangelo. Sorry, the signal went for a minute there. You know, consider this it's a Truman Show side of things, and we're all being hunted on. You know, it's and they've been using me as an experimental. I mean, then it's massive. It's massive over the last 3 years what they've been doing, and I'm getting people telling me they're verifying the evidence. So, you know, I've got to assume that it's all real. I bet not one person on here. They all asked for the documents. Yeah, they all asked for the documents. Yeah. You know, people should be putting companies on notice and really starting to make arrests. I'm going to head off in a minute. I need to get some food. Home, house, no problem till it's over. Thank you very much, Lisa. The exposure that I might need to continue to do, you see. So I can't, as much as I would love to, and, you know, obviously it's quite a big sacrifice for me being alone all of the time, but, you know, that's what I need to do. I can't risk meeting anybody at all. Literally, it's very kind of you. Most people are sleeping or they don't care. You keep doing what you're doing, Gary, and stay out of sight. It's up to us as parents to bring this evil to a stop. Thanks, Derek. Vanessa, I'm still yet to see any video of someone doing it. There was people. I didn't get a chance to put all of the videos out, but there was about 30 premises were put on notice over the last few months. So I put 3 on notice. Vanessa puts some premises on notice, and several others were put on notice. And of course, they then took my WhatsApp out, so I lost the videos. They took my YouTube, my TikTok down, and I obviously haven't been able to put the videos out. Can I be honest? It's not so we will be targeted. Think about that Palestinian action group that starved in jail. We need a unit to unite to do it, to do the strategy. Well, it depends how you're going to do it. Okay, you don't have to give your details necessarily. Okay, if you're putting somebody on notice, You don't even have to show yourself in the video. You don't even have to do it in the town you're in. You could just go to a different town, put a company on notice, video it, and come away. People aren't doing that. So, there's no risk to you at all in doing that. Absolutely no risk to you at all going into a location and putting an organisation on notice. The arrest side of things, again, the only risk, what you would be saying there is, well, the police are then going to target you. But look, they can't legally target you with anything if you're not actually hands-on touching anybody during any arrests, and you're not committing a Public Order Act offence, and you're doing what you believe to be right based on the evidence. They can't legally do anything. Now, if you're worried about what if the police then target me afterwards, we could be saying what if all day long. I could be saying, well, what if I'm murdered doing what I'm doing now? Staying, they've had dogs trying to track me down. I could say, well, I can't take this risk anymore. I've got to stop and go into the middle of nowhere and stop doing my videos and stop doing the evidence. There's got to come a point when we're going to say, well, I'm not worried about myself. I've got to just do what's right. So that's what I would say to you is, Micah, please, just do what's right and stop worrying about yourself. You only need one person to even go and do an arrest, to be honest with you. Have I researched mental health? Yep, it's a lot of it in my document. It's all part of this. This whole system is set up to cause mental health problems. It's all to do with it. Even the organisations they put in place to supposedly help it are part of the international government fraud. Mind, the Tavistock Institute, they've all been set up as part of this international fraud and the crimes against humanity to actually cause the psychological problems to humanity, according to all of the research. You've got the Mental Health Foundation features at key parts of my document. Right throughout the document, you can see the Mental Health Foundation, an actual company called that. Have I actually researched bipolar and schizophrenia specifically? No, I haven't. But I actually believe that most, not only psychological issues, but most physical health issues, I believe have been caused deliberately. Keeps fagging up that Jim Carrey is dead, someone said. There is always an opportunity for a change of heart. Yeah, and I actually do believe that a lot of people will be having conversations in the background in all of this, saying, look, we can't do this anymore. We can't do this. It's being exposed. We've got to stop this. They've threatened to take my properties multiple times. I've lost none of the properties because they know as soon as they actually make that next step, there's no going back for them. Once that I've identified they have criminal organisations doing this and it's been exposed publicly, police reports are being ignored, and they go ahead and they steal my property, there's no going back from that. Thanks very much, Jeanette. I'm doing okay, yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry I haven't been on for a while. I've found connections, it seems, to myself and QAnon, which has thrown a whole bit of a spanner in the works for me, to be honest with you. And I've been a little bit bewildered and not known. But I've been doing a lot of thinking, put it that way, and a lot of research. Which is all going into the document. Yeah, Vanessa's, but that's true. Now, why that was, I don't know. But Vanessa went and put organisations on notice, sent me a video of her doing it. As soon as I saw that video, the internet went down. I couldn't respond. I went into a shop because I was thinking, okay, they've done something to my phone. Went into a shop and said, oh, what's going on with the internet? And they said, yeah, apparently there's a blackout right around the world. There was different blackouts. And different internet sites had gone down or something. And I couldn't go on my phone for quite a while that day. And that hadn't happened to me for, well, I can't remember the last time that happened. And that was after Vanessa went and put an organisation on notice. Now, you can imagine them watching that. If Vanessa is the real heir to the throne and them seeing the real heir to the throne supporting me and my evidence and putting them on notice, that could have caused the whole, maybe that was AI seeing it, AI realising, and AI was like, oh my goodness, and caused the blackout. I don't know. But these people will have worried massively. If what Vanessa is saying, she's the real heir, and she was supporting shutting this system down and getting a transparent system and supporting my strategy, then that is very powerful, and they would not have liked that. One time I was watching Gary and my whole internet went down for like 3 to 4 days. I had to get someone out and they said nothing was up with it, just press some buttons and back on. Interesting. Yeah, I've had the fact they removed my WhatsApp, I've never heard of WhatsApp being removed like that. And then they gave it back to me. Okay, so a few weeks later I had it. Started using it, thinking, oh great, I can start sending the document out and contacting people again and, networking the evidence. And I noticed that it was constantly sending something from my phone. So I had to remove it again. So presumably they were trying to use that, I don't know, to track my location or to obtain files from my phone, I don't know. But it was continuously sending, and I checked in the messages, and none of the messages were in the process of sending anything. So, I had to get rid of it again. Someone's put, and when I contacted Gary on WhatsApp, my WhatsApp went down for months. Everyone needs to put them on notice. Yeah, that's definitely if you're not going to do the arrests, then at least put them all on notice. But there's no point putting them on notice unless you're going to publicise and collate that people are being put on notice. Now, I've got a spreadsheet, a table of all of the ones, or most of the ones that were put on notice already. It needs to be collated, documented, and it also needs to be publicised. But I actually don't think that's enough now, the notices, but it's better than nothing. I actually think arrests need to take place according to all of my evidence. Am I a German detractor? No, I'm not German. My family name, I don't actually, or I suspect my real mum is possibly not my real mum. I don't know. It's possible that they've been there trying to protect me and they've had to make it turn against me. But for now, I don't know. But Waterman, the name Waterman originates German/Jewish potential background. And there's a massive Jewish/German connection to all of this international fraud. No, I literally don't work for anybody other than, I would say, the creator through moral conscience. And I pray and I believe I'm being guided. How many people are on here from Manchester? Probably not many, because there's only 78. It's gone down. I don't know why it went down to 30. I must have really been boring. I must have been saying something really boring, or it was on like 150 or so. 140. Research the Stuarts and their links to Jesus and Mary Magdalene. The trouble is, I've done so much research. I need to come to an end with the research for now, so I can then consider what I'm going to be doing next. Otherwise, I'm just going to be forever doing research. I'm never actually going to use my potential ability to change this in a practical way. But I will. I've screenshotted that just in case I do get a chance. But what I find most disturbing, someone's put, is them doing all of this blatantly in our faces, in plain sight. They are monsters. Yeah, it is very, very blatant now, isn't it? And they're telling us. Just look at what they're telling you in the Jeffrey Epstein files. Okay, they're telling you that the organisation is linked to the crimes against children. Okay, so that's those that are behind this criminal network, involved in the crimes against children, telling you they're involved in the crimes against children. It really is quite mind-blowingly blatant, isn't it? It's a mockery. It's a mockery to all of you. And they will be thinking, I can't believe people aren't doing anything about us now. I can't believe they deserve to be taken out, because they are, it could be, and I've been talking about this a lot. Is this a test to see if you're going to do anything? And if you don't, they don't believe you're worth saving. So therefore, they're going to bring out a judgment event and take out most of humanity. That's something you have to consider, everybody, in all of this. Ricardo Bossi explains tactics, and his ex-special forces are very articulate and knowledgeable. Field is connected to David Emery, and Fisher is connected to the Daryl Emerys. dead wife. Field Fisher is a really important company in all of this because it's got the contract for the BBC as a solicitor. And the BBC, as we all know, massively implicated in this. And that's even more so now because of the connections being made to Mark Thompson, which looks as though he is linked to the Cray twins or the family of the Cray twins. Maybe we should make a group chat. Well, I haven't got WhatsApp anymore. I was on various group chats, and obviously it took my WhatsApp away. I know you can do it on other things. The trouble with the group chat is you will always have an infiltrator. They will have people infiltrating those group chats, which means you're not, because the trouble is all of this on social media, they're involved in social media. They control it all, or most of it. This is why the best thing for people to do is to go and form groups. Now, I can't do that, but there's nothing wrong with you all going around. And if you can't do it just with your people that you're already in contact with, why don't you can knock on doors? You can knock on doors and arrange a coffee afternoon or morning or whatever with your neighbours and start talking about the evidence. This is the sort of thing people should be doing. I've been saying this for months, but registered name, the White House name goes back. Registered name, the White House name goes back. The White House in America was given the name the White House, actually called the White House, according to the research that I've got, in 1901, which is the same year that the Queen died in Osborne House on the Isle of Wight. And then I've found connections in now to the Isle of Wight. And although it's spelt differently, I suspect it's going to be very relative to the Isle of Wight in all of this. It does seem as though the Isle of Wight is a very important location. And this is probably why they put the first mobile wireless tower on the Isle of Wight in 1898 by Marconi, and Marconi links to the Vatican. The real original royals had no connection to Germany at all. Someone's put Vanessa put only one solution to stop this, and that's copying their behaviour. Well, I certainly don't condone harming anybody, or we need to try and stay as best as you can within their legal system whilst you can. Ian Fleming movies are quite telling, Maureen's put. We have a building in Aylsham called the White House. Many islands are not on general maps. Someone's quoted, how can Satan cast out Satan? Joe Biden, born November the 20th, 1942, was educated at Arkmere Academy, a private Roman Catholic college. Donald John Trump was born in 1946. He enrolled at Fordham University, private Jesuit research university in New York City. Yeah, he's a wet puppet. Oh yeah, all of these people you're seeing on television, they will all be being controlled. There will be people telling them what to do in the background, 100%. Even Donald Trump. I'm going to head off. I'm going to have some food, everyone. I've been a couple of hours on here, so thank you so much for just listening to me rant on tonight, or waffle on. Just to let you know, really, I'm safe, I'm well, I'm okay at the moment. I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling motivated. I'm not suicidal or depressed in any way at all. And I'm going to continue, trying to finish this document. And then once I've got the document out, I will be doing more lives talking about that evidence and trying to figure out what I'm going to be doing next. So thank you so much, everyone. Take care of yourselves and speak soon. All the best. Bye-bye.